Tells her that he is looking for her and they should talk. He is about to say something, but Snow jumps towards Ju and hugs her. Yu is angry at Snow and says that at such an intense moment, he orders Snow to come back so that he can talk to her, but Snow refuses. Yu is confused to see that and thinks that Snow is acting almighty just because he leveled up a bit. He wonders why Snow doesn't even bother with other people, but why he likes Ju this much. A lot of females rush towards Ju after pushing Yu aside. They ask Ju what she is doing here. Yu tells them that he was talking to her but got hit by an elbow. Yu says that he was talking to her first. When someone from behind says that here he was, Poseidon grabs Yu and takes him away by saying let them have a long talk before he gets off work. Yu says that he refuses, but Poseidon takes him away and asks if he wants to work for him. Ju is looking at that when a screen appears in front of her. She tells Yu that it is quite early to meet him at this point in life, but let's succeed together in this lifetime. Ju looks at the screen, which is similar to the one Yu sees. On the screen, all the information about Ju is displayed. Her full name is Ju So-yeol. She is a human, occupation mid-tier god. She's a god of reincarnation and rebirth. This is her 1869th revival. Her talent is Insight, with a divine power 3,76,500. She has numerous skills: sword, martial arts, spear, axe, archery, shooting, cooking, construction. Her abilities are Plum Blossom Sword Technique, the Devil's Whisper, Accurate Aim, Golem's Shield, Angel Wings, and Cure. Her nickname is the Hero of the Fairy Village, Slayer of the 33rd Floor Demon King, and Conqueror of the Golems. After some time, they are back to the hunter testing grounds. Someone gives Yu his hunter license and congratulates him. Yu looks at the license and says that he finally got it, not to mention a 6-star rating on his first try. Hunters are universally classified through stars. The tanning system starts from unranked to 9 stars. There hasn't been a 9-star hunter in Korea yet, and only 13 hunters are above 5 stars. That means the pressure of being a 6-star hunter is unimaginable. Young is still fixated on Yu. He starts shouting that entering dungeons and gates without a hunter license, and they are letting a criminal like that get away with it. 2 security guards are holding him back, and Yu sees that he is still being that. Yu thinks that Snow feels a bit heavier. He wonders if Snow White got bigger. He remembers that Snow also leveled up and thinks that Snow might continue to grow and become independent. He thinks that Snow really likes Ju. Yu starts running his face against Snow White and wonders why this innocent and cute guy would do that. Yu asks Snow if he likes him better than Ju. Ju is standing behind Yu and says that it looks like he is in good spirits, but that won't last long. She tells Yu to follow her. As promised, she will tell him everything, the things he must know and what is going to happen. This is about the world's end, Ragnarok. After a while, they are traveling in a car. Ju is driving the car, and Yu says now that he feels something strange about her. He asks who she is. Ju asks if that is what he is curious about. She tells Yu that 1 year ago, somehow, a window for part-time jobs for gods appeared in front of her eyes. Using the rewards from part-time jobs, she was able to become stronger and became a mid-tier god. Then she got a talent called Foresight. Yu is surprised to hear that. She continues and tells Yu that she doesn't know much about it, but she learns of an astounding future where the war between the gods is about to happen soon. Sometimes, the names of gods like Zeus, Poseidon, Neptune, Eros, and Cupid vary across different mythologies. People would say that they are the same gods without a second thought, but they are different gods with different names. Unlike the gods that survived due to the devotion of the people, the past forgotten gods have come to reclaim their name through the gates. They grow their strength with it. A gate is like a hideout that the ancient gods used to grow their strength. After the ancient gods bring their reserved energy within the gate, they will clash with existing gods right now to reclaim their name, and in the end, the 6th Ragnarok is going to occur. Yu is shocked to hear that and says that there is a gate in the human world as well. Ju says that is right. To enable humans to fight back, dungeons were created in a similar fashion to a gate. They were meant to train humans. It was a training ground to prepare them for the gates. Yu is angry as he clenches his teeth and says that from the moment dungeons appeared until now, several people have been injured or killed. He furiously asks Ju if a dungeon was just a tasting ground. In the time spent making that, the gods could have just prevented this. Ju replies that he has seen Neptune, so he should understand. Neptune stepped out of the gate before he could gather all of his strength, and he was that strong. The gate is a place even the gods cower against. The more the forgotten gods gather their energy, the harder it will be to stop the gate. It is a taxing task even for gods to protect their world. If Ragnarok occurs, then there won't be a single god to protect the human world. Obviously, humans would have no knowledge of this. They still believe that the gates' appearance was merely a coincidence, like a car accident. If a presence like Neptune appears in the city, the surroundings would be decimated in a moment. Yu is scared and thinks that now everything is matching like a puzzle. The appearance of the dungeons, talents, and skills similar to God's abilities, just like a game, items being dropped after defeating monsters, all of it was the last gift bestowed upon humans by the gods. Yu says in the end, it means humans have to survive this on their own. He asks how they can stop the gates that even gods can't. Ju replies that she will help him. In the future, she sees him facing several gates and protecting the world. Yu is surprised to hear that Ju says that she will do everything she can to help him become that person in the future. The car stops, and she tells Yu that they have arrived. Yu tells her that he was so out of it that he didn't even realize that they arrived. Yu opens the door and thanks her for giving him the ride, but he is suddenly shocked to see a board installed there. It says breaking news, the new 6 stars hunter Yu Damduck. There are numerous reporters gathered outside his place. They are asking Yu if they can have an interview before his presentation. Yu asks Ju if they are in the right place, and he thinks they have come to the wrong spot. Yu asks if she was talking about this when she said that she would help him, but he is shocked to see that Ju is already gone with her car. The screen notifies Yu that his divine power and reputation are rising, and Yu screams at Ju to come back. 1 month later, there is news on the TV about Yu, the 6-star hunter who cleared 3 dungeons in a single month, this time too without any deaths. As someone who cleared the most dungeons this month, he has accumulated millions of dollars worth of items. Yu picks up the remote and says that it is not all great when one is this popular. He says that it is absolutely necessary to increase his godly powers, but reporters keep latching onto him because he is a 6-star hunter. Yu looks at Snow on the floor and asks if he knows that there is a fan club for Snow White. Yu tells Snow that he is gaining popularity without even doing anything. Ju says that fame will soon be his strength. As she is leaning against a wall, she says that the fights that are yet to come will be much more difficult. The anticipated end without any belief in the future, one would collapse from depression. The coming future could actually be crueler than expected. She said, will he still face that cruel fate? A screen appears. It asks divine power over 25,000 if he will accept Apollo's offer. Yu says he wondered what he would do if he hadn't known, but the end of the world, that's not even fair, but now that he knows, he is not going to be waiting around sucking on his thumb. Ju says she knew he would say that they both step into the magic circle and accept the offer. She says let's go to the world of part-time jobs for gods. Someone welcomes them and says be honored that they get to work part-time for him, Apollo. Yu's mouth is wide open. He is surprised and says he thinks that he will be able to see the sun right in front of his eyes. It is so bright. Apollo starts smiling and says that of course it is bright. It's a clear representation of him after all. He excitedly tells Yu that even the sun carriage is beautiful because it resembles him. It has curves as smooth as his body, but it still doesn't match his perfection. Yu and Ju are in disbelief to see that Apollo is so boastful. Apollo asks them if they heard about how perfect he is and says that he has become more and more perfect ever since he was born. Yu asks how he is able to compliment himself without taking a break and whether he has some sort of self-appraisal ability. Thankfully, it's almost sunrise. Yu and are traveling on a carriage. Ju tells Yu that she is seriously considering punching him. Yu excitedly tells her that even so, this is fun. Ju asks what exactly is fun in that. Yu says that it is always constructing a dungeon or training dogs, but it feels great doing something worthy of a god. He asks when he will ever get the chance to drag around the sun again. Ju suspiciously looks at Yu and asks if he believes that this is the actual sun. She says that this is a fake made from Apollo's ability, and they are just flying through the sky, matching the timing of the sunrise. Yu has tears in his eyes. He thinks that deep down he knew that, but it still feels like when someone told him that there's no Santa. Yu is annoyed and asks Ju why Apollo made it. They are dragging a fake sun on the carriage. Ju tells Yu that if they do this, then people will believe and be devoted to the sun god. This way, it increases his godly power, and that is how Apollo became the sun god. Yu asks if this is a serious fraud. Ju replies that he is right. He is just a fraud eating out of people's beliefs. Even still, there's nothing for him to worry about. Just focus on the job. She asks Yu if he remembers the reward for this part-time job, and she says let's quickly finish up this part-time job. Yu asks her if she has ridden carriages before because she is very good at it. Ju says of course she has suffered enough through her part-time jobs countless times, and now she could even do it with her eyes closed. Yu asks if it isn't her first time doing this post-time job. Apollo doesn't seem to recognize her though. Ju thinks that most of the time Yu is slow-minded, but only at times like these is he sharp. He will be able to tell that she's lying. Ju tells Yu that of course Apollo doesn't remember because he only cares about himself. So even after coming here multiple times, he doesn't remember. There are strange beasts looking at the carriage from a distance. They suddenly attack the carriage and they bite the fake sun, which Yu and Ju are dragging behind their carriage. Ju says that's strange because usually there aren't any sun wolves in this path. Yu surprisingly asks if those things that look like dogs from hell are sun wolves. Yu's special ability, Dog President, gets activated. Ju tells Yu that she will deal with this, so he should take the reins, but Yu tells her no, he will do it. Ju tells him that it is beyond his level, and if he makes contact with a sun wolf, it will burn him down to the bones. Yu tells her that in order to become as strong as him from the prophecy, he will have to be able to handle this much, after saying that Yu jumps from the carriage with the black sword in his hand. Yu jumps on the carriage and says that he has it all planned out. Yu rushes past the sun wolves at insane speed and stops them by coming in front and blocking their path. He attacks with his black sword and slashes the fire on their fur and grabs a sun wolf with his bare hand. Yu thinks that he killed off the heat, but it is still very hot. The system activates the power of Neptune. It says the blessing of the waves will now cover his body. Yu thinks that with this, or he can do it. After touching the sun wolf, his ability of Dog President also gets activated. Yu tames the sun wolves by touching them, and they start playing with Yu. Ju is shocked to see that, and she starts smiling and says that Yu is such a fun person. When she met him first, he was just a fool who couldn't do anything. No matter how hard or painful things were, he still charged forward. To others it might seem like a meaningless improvement, but little by little he devoted himself and always improved beyond her imagination. Accomplishing this much in such short time is not small. There's no one else. He is the only person who can kill that, as she has only been reincarnated for that purpose. Yu is smiling as he orders Sun Wolf 1 and Sun Wolf 2 to help alongside him. They start following Yu. Yu says let's do this, his cute little puppies, and orders the 2 sun wolves to help him in dealing with the other sun wolves. They start fighting the other sun wolves. Yu says that they seem flustered that their friends are suddenly attacking them. Yu says that he will make sure that they become friends again soon enough and starts slashing them using his sword. Yu sits on a sun wolf and touches 2 more. The system notifies them that 40 dogs are following him. Yu orders them to let go and tame the rest. The system says that special ability, Dog President's additional skill, has been unlocked. It says the additional skill is howling. Yu is now able to call upon all the dogs that he has tamed. Whatever he says, they will follow his orders with utmost loyalty. Yu is excited to see his new skill. Yu thinks that out of all the tamed dogs, the deadly hounds aren't the most useful right now, but if he summoned that one, it would be interesting to see them fight. Ju shouts at him to hurry up and finish taming the rest. The scary part about them isn't when they are alone. It is when sun wolves feel threatened, and then they combine into one. But it is already too late as Yu turns around and sees that all the remaining sun wolves have merged into one big sun wolf. The sun wolf opens its mouth and shoots a fireball towards Yu. Yu is stunned to see that it hits the carriage and is destroyed. Ju saves Yu from the attack while riding on the horse. She tells Yu that he is blanking out again at the most crucial time. She looks at him and says that he sure needs a lot of care. She tells him to get a hold of himself and get on the horse quickly, but they don't have much time. Yu asks her what about the carriage and the sun, and she tells Yu that the giant sun wolf and the destroyed carriage all fell down to the village. Ju tells Yu that she will say this because he is going to have pointless thoughts. The moment the giant sun wolf appeared, the nearby villages were already in danger, and that's why saving the people comes first. Then, the sun wolf starts attacking people with fire, and everyone panics and starts running away. A girl is about to fall under rubble, but Yu cuts it to pieces and tells her to get away from it quickly. Yu rushes towards the giant sun wolf. It also attacks Yu with his claw, but Yu stops the attack with his sword and cuts him. Blood starts coming out, which makes it even angrier. The wolf is about to bite Yu, but he starts smiling and says that even though the sun wolves are combined, he is sure that they are still no match for Cerberus. Cerberus appears from behind Yu and bites the giant sun wolf. Yu tells Cerberus to hold it down tightly. Yu raises his blade and says that now it is time to finish this. Yu swings his sword, and there's dust everywhere because of the impact. An old man from the village asks just who that person is, appearing from the sky and defeating such a beast so easily. Ju also arrives there, and she tells the old man that his name is Yu. The old man says that God's name is Yu. Ju starts smiling and says that Yu has a thing for getting the spotlight. After some time, Yu is feeding the sun fire to the sun wolves and says that they are doing good and they should take care of their own shit. Yu turns around and sees that other sun wolves are playing together, so he starts shouting at them to stop playing when he is not looking towards them. Yu says that he swears that if he doesn't watch them, they just keep playing. The old man comes near Yu and says godly Yu, as a representative of the village, offers him a late greeting and thanks him very much as he bows down in front of Yu. Yu is shocked to see the old man on the ground. Yu tells him that it is okay. This all happened because of their lack of caution. He tells the old man to please get back up. The old man tells Yu that it is thanks to the gods looking after them, and they are thankful for the kindness they have brought upon them. That is why, from now on, they will pay their respects to him every month by offering him their riches. He looks up and sees that Yu disappeared. Yu is hiding behind a pillar and asks what offerings he is talking about. Yu asks Ju what she has been blabbering about around here for everyone to be acting like that. Yu also tells Ju that they are in trouble. The carriage is completely destroyed, so they can't use it, and the sun that fell with it was eaten up by Sun Wolf. They still have a week of Apollo's part-time job left. Ju tells Yu that there's no need to worry, they will just make one. Yu is confused as he looks at her and says that he is not good with his hands, though Ju tells him that she is not talking about him, but someone he knows too well. Yu and Ju arrive at the Hephaestus place. Yu tells Ju that she must have a lot of money, and she replies that she doesn't have any at all. Yu is surprised to hear that. Yu tells her that no matter how close she is with Hephaestus, asking him to create a son without any compensation, Ju interrupts him and tells him to stop talking and follow her. Yu is feeling frustrated but again starts speaking and says there's no way he's going to make the sun for them. He tells Ju that he bets on it and the loser will have to grant the winner a wish. After some time, Ju asks Hephaestus, and he happily agrees. He tells her that he owes her countless things, so a favor like this is nothing. He starts laughing and says that he will have it ready in 3 days. Yu asks what kind of debt he is in to create a son for free. After that, they arrive at an unknown place. Yu asks her if she wants to talk, and if they have to move places for that. Ju replies that he said the loser would grant the winner a wish, so before she tells him her wish, she has something to tell him. Yu asks what it is and thinks why she is creating a scary atmosphere. She tells Yu that in order to stop the foretold end, the war of the gods, he has to start gathering priests. Yu is surprised to hear that. She tells him that when a low-class god's godly power surpasses 50,000, then they gain the ability known as God's Calling. Using that ability, he can call upon those priests anytime to fight alongside him. Yu says that she must be joking. He can't just go around saying that he is actually a god because he is not even a real god in the first place. Ju says that he still has to do it because his strength alone can't stop the war between gods, but he can gather priests from different dimensions. In the prophecy, he is supposed to stop the war with 12 priests. Yu grabs his head and tells her to stop. He is losing focus from her telling him everything all at once. It is not even 1 or 2. Let's put aside the 12 for a second, and he asks what she means by different dimensions. Yu tells Yu that right now he can only do part-time jobs on this continent, but if he continues to gather godly power, then he will soon be able to do part-time jobs in different dimensions. Yu thinks that working in Greek mythology is very tiring already. Yu tells Yu that he doesn't have to worry too much. The first priest is in their dimension, and they would be of great help to him. She reminds Yu that he said he would grant her any wish, so she just remembered something. In the morning, people start prostrating to see the sunrise. They look up at the sky and ask who Yu is. A woman says that he is the god that defeated the fire beast in the neighboring village, and it seems that Apollo treasures him. In the sky, there is a poster flying behind the carriage. It has Yu's picture on it, and it says Sword God Yu. This man is amazing. Yu starts shouting at Yu and says that he knows that she wants him to raise his godly power, but that is so embarrassing for a wish. She replies that he willingly said he would grant her anything. She tells Yu that their goal is to unlock the skill of gods calling through this part-time job, so with the time they have remaining, they have to build it as much as possible. Yu replies that she should have made the poster better. After completing the job, Yu is sitting on the ground. He is busy buying some skills as he buys a shooting talent and thinks that this should help with long-range fights. He thinks that his answer to long-range attacks was only wave slash, so it was a pain when he was facing Neptune. If he had made a mistake, he could have died back then. Yu decides to see how much godly power he built. He can't sleep from embarrassment because of that banner. Yu's godly power has increased to 50,011. The ability of God's calling has been unlocked, and only those overfilled with awe can be registered as priests. Yu is shocked to see that his godly power has increased that much. Apollo's face appears behind the screen, and he asks Yu what he is looking at. Yu is startled and says that he scared him. Apollo starts smiling and says that the mother system won't allow others to pry. Apollo asks Yu why he is getting flustered and gives Yu his hand. Yu grabs his hand and thinks that he must be talking about the system page. Apollo asks if anything happened. Yu tells him that a few sun wolves came running up to them, but they figured it out. Apollo starts smiling and tells him a great job. Now he will give him a special payment as well as a little bonus. Then, the system notifies Yu that Apollo's self-healing ability has been registered and that Apollo is transferring Yu's ability. Yu looks at his hand and says self-heal. Apollo starts laughing and says that it is an ability he can only get by working part-time for his truly. There are tons of gods who want this ability. Snow is annoyed and is covering his ears. Yu asks Snow if he woke up, and he asks Snow to let him borrow his strength for a bit. Snow transforms into a dagger. Yu says he should check beforehand what this ability is and cuts his finger. The ability self-heal gets activated. Yu thinks that it is slow, but he can see that the wound is healing little by little. Yu says that it is kind of cute how it is healing. Snow transforms back and starts licking Yu's finger. Yu asks if Snow is licking his finger because he used him to injure himself. Apollo looks at Snow and asks if this is a mythical creature that turns into a weapon. He says that it is fascinating. He asks Yu if he has a skill related to taking. Yu replies yes, and he guesses so. Yu asks why he asked. Apollo tells Yu that there is something that has been a pain for him these days. He is wondering how to raise it, and it is tiring because it keeps trying to rip up and eat his son. So he is wondering how to raise the sun wolf. Yu starts playing with the sun wolves. Apollo is shocked to see that and thinks that he has never heard of a god that has tamed sun wolves before, but a lower god has accomplished something no other god ever could. Snow punches the sun wolf. Apollo asks Yu if he can tell him how he takes the sun wolves. Yu says right, but on one condition: if Apollo teaches him archery. Yu thinks that most people picture Apollo as the god of the sun. However, he is also the god of art, music, poems, and archery. After some time, Apollo gives archery lessons to Yu. He tells him to concentrate his power on the tip of his hands and create an arrow, then hold his breath and draw a bow, lock into his target and shoot. The arrow strikes the apple in the middle. He says that it's something like that and easier than Yu thinks. Yu thinks that he looked down on him because his actions were very godlike, but rising to the level of a god must be because he can do something like this. Apollo just shot them all the way across the river. Yu says that unexpectedly, Apollo's archery lessons were strict. With him teaching it had been a month since he started training in the realm of God. Yu says that he now understands what archery is. Yu thinks that until now, the only way he was trying to polish his skills was from YouTube or copying the movements of dwarves and their underwater palace soldiers, but learning from a god is on a completely different level. Yu thinks of combining all of the skills he has learned up until now with the skills of God so that he can rise up to a new level. Ju arrives at the training place and tells Yu to head back now. There isn't much time left until he meets the first priest. Yu says okay, but let him first say his goodbyes to Apollo. He tells him to come and say goodbye before leaving, and she tells Yu that he is busy playing with the sun wolves. Yu says that there is something he learned while working at an animal cafe, which is that all the dogs can be controlled with treats. Ju tells Yu that he is very lucky that he worked. Ju asks Yu what happens if it doesn't work. He replies that he will just do it until it works. Ju tells Yu that he should think about his actions. Later on, it might cause some serious damage. Yu starts smiling and tells Ju that she sure worries a lot. He has risen his godly power, got a new ability, and learned a new skill. There is no way it gets better than this. Meanwhile, at the Hades castle, Hades asks his servant if his information is undoubtedly true. The servant replies yes, he has checked multiple times before coming, and he is certain that Cerberus was summoned to another world without Hades' permission. Hades is furious and asks who did that to Cerberus, the symbol of the netherworld. Whoever it is, he won't let them live. Hades says that they will soon find out what happens when they insult him, the king of the netherworld. At Sangoon Guild's building, Yu is training with his sword by cutting wood pieces. The system notifies him that his swordsmanship proficiency has increased. Yu says that it is good that he can train here and asks Ju if she is sure that the priest guy is supposed to come here. Ju tells Yu to wait for a bit longer. Yu looks back at the wooden logs and says that it has already been a week since he has been swinging this sword all by himself, and since he is training alone, his swordsmanship and godly power take longer to raise. It would be better to use this time to finish a part-time job. He asks Ju if she is even listening. Ju is drinking her coffee while looking at her mobile and says she found it. Yu asks if she found the priest, and she replies no, she found a part-time job. She tells Yu to wait here, and she will be back. Yu says if she is looking for a part-time job on her own, then he is going too, but Ju tells him no, he should stay here. Yu starts yelling at her, saying that she's just being selfish and going on a part-time job alone. Yu asks her where she is going. Ju replies it will take too long to explain and leaves. Yu asks. No one had been here for a week, so how could she tell him to wait when he had no idea when the priest would show up? Yu says it would be better to do a part-time job than to wait here. Young is standing behind Yu and says that Yu sure has liked part-time jobs since he was born into a poor family. He starts laughing. Yu says this annoying voice can only be of one man. He looks at Young, who tells Yu that it is so clear that he was acting like a hunter, and now that it has become difficult, Yu is trying to look for a part-time job. Young says that it is a good thing someone untalented should go do part-time jobs just like the untalented would. Yu is disappointed and says here they go again. He asks Young if he isn't getting tired of this and besides that, why he is at Sangoon Guild. Yu thinks if he is the priest, please tell me he is not. Young and Yu, if he is here without knowing anything, there's a taming competition here today. He looks at Snow and asks what Yu would do with that useless cat anyway. Young is holding a dog by a chain and tells Yu that he brought this guy from a German dungeon and it has deadly hound blood mixed in it. He tells Yu that he would need to bring at least this much to win. Young pats Yu's shoulder and tells him not to cause any trouble here and just go do his part-time job. Today is an important day and he doesn't have time to face Yu. After some time, people cheered for contestant number 9, Chen Young. He scored 39 points, the highest point in the history of this competition. Young is smiling and looks at his father in the stands. He thinks that with this chance, he will show his father what he is made of and how amazing his son is. Young's father is looking at him. His name is Chen Gun, and he is the leader of Korea's #1 guild, Iris. Young thinks that he will definitely prove that he is worthy of becoming Iris's successor. The announcer looks at a piece of paper and says now, for the last contestant, he has been Korea's hottest topic recently, introducing contestant number 10, Yu Damdeok. They will judge his taming skills now. Yu comes to the ring with his son Wolf. The judge with the glasses says that he has been a judge for 10 years, but this is his first time seeing such a breed, while the other judge says that a hound that breathes fire is a new breed, so it is going to take the taming competition by storm. Young is furious to see that. Yu pats his shoulder and asks if he was excited at first because he was acting almighty, but it was for nothing. Yu asks Young if he thinks he could win with that wrinkly cutie. The sun wolf is looking at Young's hound with its arm around the dog. The dog is trembling with fear. Young grabs Yu by the collar and asks why he always appears in front of him and gets in his way. Chingun shouts at his son and tells him that if he is competing, then do so silently. Young tells his father that it is not that. Gun tells him to be quiet before he sends him off to another foreign exchange program. Gun tells Yu that his son caused trouble, so he apologizes in his stead. Yu starts smiling and says that it is fine. Yu thinks that he never would have guessed that he would meet the head of Korea's greatest guild here. Gun tells Yu that he has become more dignified since the last time they met. Yu says that it has been a while, sir. Gun tells Yu not to worry about his son and just pretend that he is not right in his head and understands. Young goes to the waiting room and smashes a vase on the ground and says that his father always does that. He always compares someone who doesn't have an ounce of his blood to him. He grabs his hair in anguish and says that nothing is going right in his life since that Yu showed up. A person with silver hair is playing on his mobile. He asks Young just who he is so angry about. Young asks him why he arrived so late. He replies to Young that he was gaming, but the event ends today. Young says that he is crazy and asks if he broke his father's promise because of a game. Young thinks that just because his father treasures him a little, he can do whatever he wants. He says that this idiot and Yu are both the same. Young starts smiling and thinks that these two idiots should rip each other apart. After a while, Yu asks Ju if she knows what happened during the time she went to do the part-time job. She should have seen Young's expression back then. It was like he had lost everything. Yu starts laughing and says it was so refreshing. Ju tells Yu that he is here. Yu asks who, and suddenly, the system warns Yu that murderous intent is detected. A boy with silver hair appears and asks if he is Yu. He grabs his sword and says that he just had to get on his brother's bad side. He tells Yu not to hate him too much and watches Yu with his sword. There's a huge blast. The boy's name is White Cloud, and he is Iris's best hunter. He says that it was nothing personal. Young is sitting in the waiting room and says White Ghost, Iris's most elite member and the one that receives affection from father the most, was born with an SS rank talent for swordsmanship, an extraordinary genius who, at the age of 10, had already mastered the sword. With his arrogant and violent personality, he would bring his sparring partners near death, and this received the nickname White Ghost. He says this time Yu is in for a treat. Yu managed to block the White Ghost's attack with his black sword, which surprised him. Yu pushed him back and said that it was quite a disappointment for an ambush. Yu asks if Young sent him here, and then he has an idea of what his level is. Yu attacks White Ghost, but he jumps backwards and attacks Yu. Yu barely dodges the blade, and White Ghost cuts Yu's face, and blood starts coming out. Yu thinks that suddenly, this guy's movements are unreadable. White Ghost comes near Yu's face and asks Yu which one he should cut first, right arm or left arm. Yu thinks that he won't be such an easy opponent. Yu remembers that Ju told him that the first condition is making them in awe. There are a lot of ways, but the easiest would be an overwhelming difference in power. White Ghost is angry. He tells Yu to try taking smack again as he cuts Yu again, and a lot of blood starts flowing. Yu is hurt and wonders why it doesn't make sense that he is better with the sword than he is. Yu asks just how he makes him in awe. White Ghost starts attacking Yu again. Yu thinks that it is difficult to face him with just a sword, but he doesn't have to fight him using a sword. Yu transforms them into gloves and stops the White Ghost's attack with his hand. Yu grabs the sword and punches White Ghost in the face using a dwarf hammer punch, but he doesn't let go of his sword. Yu says that he is a complete maniac because he withstood that attack. White Ghost tells Yu to shut up. He has tears in his eyes and his face is swollen. He tells Yu that he is a cowardly swordsman using his fists in a fight. Yu tells him that there is a level he can't reach just by using a sword, and he is just a child for not knowing that. White Ghost is angry and tells Yu to shut up. He was just caught off guard. Yu also starts smiling and says that they should continue. He hopes that he is not going to get caught off guard again. White Ghost tells Yu to wait. At night Yu arrives back at his home with Ju and says that he left a note telling him to come to find him if he is pissed, but he doubts that he will come because he beat him to a pulp like that. Ju tells Yu that it may not be the case for others, but if it is a White Cloud, she's positive that he will come first. Yu asks why it feels like it is more tiring than doing a part-time job for God. Yu thinks that in order to recruit a priest, one must fulfill the following 3 conditions. First, one must make them in awe and respect them. Second, one must make sure that they are well aware that they will become priests. Lastly, they must accept everything and swear to be their priest. Yu grabs his head and asks why it is so tricky. Ju tells Yu that is why it is common for most people not to be able to use God's calling even after unlocking it. Yu asks her why she isn't using it. Since she is a mid-tier god, she should have unlocked it a long time ago because he is sure she's not lacking in skills. Ju tells Yu that she can't use it because of some special circumstances. Yu asks what circumstances, but Ju remains silent. Yu thinks that it might be something he shouldn't have asked her, but Ju says that she is too lazy to tell him. White Ghost is outside the door trying to decide whether to go in or not. Yu tells him from inside that if he is here, then come in, don't just stand outside. White Ghost is startled to hear that, and he tells Yu to shut up. He is just going to ask him something and then leave. He is leaning against the door and asks if Yu is a martial artist or a swordsman. Yu replies from his couch that he can be a swordsman and a martial artist. White Ghost kicks the door open and says there can't be a genius who is good in both categories. He asks Yu to tell him just one. Yu says if he doesn't believe him, then they can go another round. He tells Yu that he is not here to fight. He is just trying to analyze the reason he lost. Yu stands up and tells him that the reason he lost he is not going to tell him because he is asking so rudely. No one in their right mind would tell him. Yu starts grinning and says that if he wants to know that badly, then try saying older brother Yu, please take him in as his student. White Ghost is annoyed to hear that. White Ghost is annoyed and tells Yu that he would rather just bite his tongue off and die. He says forget it and starts leaving. He seems furious and thinks that Yu really wants him to call him big brother when it took him 10 years to call that idiot Young, his older brother, but to address someone here has never met before as older brother, he will never do that. Yu asks if he is going already. He was thinking of teaching him the secrets of martial arts as well, asking with it, he would have been perfect. It is so unfortunate. Let's just forget this conversation never happened. White Ghost stopped in his tracks. Yu thinks that he probably realized that combining swordsmanship and martial arts results in efficient combat, and it is something he needs in order to become stronger. White clenches his teeth and after pounding for a while, says big brother. Yu tells him that he couldn't hear anything because it was too quiet. White thinks that he should just get this over with, and after he matters martial arts then, he will step over Yu. White says to older brother Yu, please accept him as his student. Yu starts smiling and says, right little brother, if that is what he desires, then he will teach him the secret of martial arts, but before that, this older brother has a favor to ask him. After becoming a student, the continuing to gain a priest commenced. The very first condition of awing him was already achieved. As a god substitute, she was able to traverse through gates and the world of gods. When the topic of pledging one's life to a god came out, even Yu was worried that it was absurd, but White accepted easily. White thinks that it is so much like a game, and just like that, the priest oath was completed quite undramatically. After some time, Yu is training White and says that he is following along quite well. White sits on the ground and asks if that is true. Yu asks why he would lie. He starts smiling and thinks that White's ability to learn is better than he expected. He wonders if he learned from just one punch that he got hit by. Yu thinks that at this rate, he might even be able to pull off a dwarf hammer punch soon. Yu tells him to connect everything he has learned so far, and then they will call it a day. White is tired and says that Yu sure is a strict teacher. White gets up and starts training his punches again. The system tells Yu that his priest has acquired the skill and his combat power has slightly been raised. Yu looks at the screen and thinks that even though the conditions are picky, the priest system seems quite nice when he sees this. Whenever he becomes stronger, Yu will automatically get stronger. At night, in the training room, White is shouting at Yu. He asks why he is not going to the dungeon when he has already planned the attack. He receives the word that there are definitely going to be skill runes there. Yu asks if he is going to make him repeat himself. White says that stopping the war of gods is good and all, but that's all the more reason that he should go along into these dungeons. He asks Yu why they are going to gates when they don't give them anything. Yu thinks that this is the expected reaction since he didn't tell him everything. Yu thinks that he was like that not too long ago, and at times like this, he has to persuade him maturely. Yu tells him to calm down for now and listen carefully. They are going to the gate to judge when the war is going to happen, and they are also going to find other guardians of different worlds. That is their duty. White tells Yu to forget it. He doesn't care. If they are going to the gate, then he is not going to budge as he sits on the ground. Yu thinks that he is starting to understand Yu's actions. Yu gets angry, grabs White by the neck, and tells him to just follow him when he tells him to. Yu tells Yu to forget about him. There's always a method, and Yu and Yu leave for the gate. White starts playing his games while sitting on the couch and wonders if they reached okay. He says that he is still considered his priest, so maybe he should have followed them. He throws his mobile away and says that there is no way he is worrying about something like that. He was being thoughtful and paid good money to get the information about that dungeon. The more he thinks about it, the more it pisses him off. You didn't even know how hard he worked to find out about that. Suddenly White gets transferred to where Yu and Ju are. Yu starts laughing and says he can indeed summon him from anywhere. This ability is truly amazing. White is in shock and asks what is going on. Yu tells him that he summoned him using his godly power. Yu tells him to calm down and kill that there's a monster behind White. He turns around in an instant and kills the monster by cutting it in pieces. Yu starts walking and says that is great, let's go clear up the rest. White is annoyed and asks what this is. He is not going with them. Yu says fine then, just stay there, he will move him again. White says fine, he will come on his own, don't do that. After dinner time, Yu is standing above the severed head of a monster. He is carrying his black sword and says this ended quite swiftly. Yu sees that White also performed the martial arts skill that he taught him, and his hands are covered in blood. Yu asks him if he likes the dwarf hammer punch. White says that it is not like that. If they are done researching the gate or whatever, then let go so that he can play games. He kicks the monster's head. Yu is holding the core of the boss monster in his hand and tells him that things are just getting started. They are not going anywhere, they merely just visit the gate. Yu crushes the core and says their real destination is somewhere else. The system says the reputation value of God Yu will be consumed to be transported to another dimension. A circle appears under White's feet, and he looks at Yu and sees that he is smiling. They are transported to another dimension. White is excited to see that it is the magic world. Yu says that it is a lot different from what he imagined, and Ju asks just what he imagined. Yu asks how she expects them to find the next priest in such a wide area without even knowing what they look like. Ju tells him not to worry. Finding them is easy because it is her. There is a picture of a girl in the building. Her name is Adele Shallan. She is 27 years old and has been awarded the Best Actress award in a magic movie. Yu sees that she is an actress and asks why someone famous like her would become his priest. Ju tells Yu to be focused because the remaining priests are going to be much more difficult. White is excited to see something. He says, older brother, that looks fascinating. Let's go check it out. Ju tells Yu that it won't be simple like it was with White. White asks if she just cursed him out for being simple, and he starts shouting that she thinks he is easy because he keeps letting it go, and they should get things straight right now. The next moment, White is lying on the ground because Ju beat him up. Yu tells him that he has told him many times that Ju is much stronger than him, and White says that he is sorry. Ju tells Yu not to worry about meeting her. Based on the prophecy, Adele Shallan goes to magic school every Friday. Yu asks if 27-year-olds go to school in this world, and Ju replies no, Adele Shallan is a special case. He will figure out the rest but follow her for now. They have somewhere to go. They arrive at the Magic Academy. It is a beautiful building. Yu introduces himself and says that he is starting today, so let's get along. He bows down and is embarrassed to think about going to school at his age. He wonders if Ju was preparing for this when she said that she was going to do part-time jobs alone. Students start making fun of Yu. One of them says that he is the total flop who came in with the dean's recommendation, and another one starts laughing and says that he heard that his mana came out as O in the evaluation. Yu thinks that this place is no different. It is awful, this feeling of dividing people based on skill. The professor claps her hands and says there are a lot of empty seats, so Yu can sit wherever he wants. He tells everyone to let's get ready. Yu thinks that he has a seat in mind and starts climbing the stairs. He thinks that physically being close means getting close in general, so he will naturally sit next to Adele Shallan. He asks her if he can sit next to her, and she is wearing a uniform. It has a blue rose on it. She looks at Yu and tells him to do whatever he wants. Yu sits next to her and asks if she knows where the magic practice room is. It is his first time here, so there's a lot he doesn't know. Yu starts smiling and thinks that first he will make small talk to open up a conversation. She ignores Yu. Yu says that the classroom is huge. She gets up in anger and tells Yu that he shouldn't act like he is close to her and that he must have thought he could become friends with a celebrity if he went to the same school. So then he should just get lost. It is troublesome for her who takes her studies seriously. Yu is shocked by it and says that he is sorry. Yu thinks that he is already screwed on his first interaction. The bell rings and Yu is walking down the hall. He says that he is in trouble because he has a magic practice class and he asks just where Area A is. Yu is walking by an office and he hears a professor and Adele talking. The professor asks Adele if she remembers her promise that if she can't graduate this year, she is going to drop out and focus on acting. Adele says that she knows, and the professor tells her that she knows this as well. Even if she is stubborn like this, her mana scarcity syndrome won't get any better. Yu hears their conversation while standing outside. In the next class, an old professor is teaching the students. He tells everyone to feel the flower of their mana and imagine a fire, and then they can cast a fireball. Yu is surprised to see that. Yu gets excited and says now it is his turn. He starts making different hand signs and says fireball, but nothing is working. Yu thinks that he tried using his godly power instead of magic power to see if it would work, but magic will only work with mama, he guesses. The other students start laughing at him. Yu tells them that he is practicing magic, but they start laughing even more. One BC student asks Yu if he was in a circus before. Adele Shalon is looking at them from a distance. The student tells Yu to try that funny pose again. Yu tells him to stop distracting him and mind his own business. Adele Shalon starts walking towards them and tells Yu that she has to tell him something, so she stays behind after the class. After the class, Adele asks Yu that he doesn't have mana, so why doesn't he just give up on magic, and that seeing him getting worked up is a sight for sore eyes. Yu asks if she thinks that it is pathetic to take the complaints about herself out on others. She turns her face to the side and asks what he is talking about. Yu says that he knows that she has mana scarcity syndrome, a rare condition where she can't use her mana. No matter how much mana she has in her body, she starts shaking and asks how he knows. Adele Shalon thinks that is the worst disease that ruined her dream. That is why when this guy who was in the same shoes as her appeared, rather than having the feeling of similarity, she felt hatred flooding inside her. Even if she kept at this forever, the fact that she couldn't reach her dream of becoming a great magician was further solidified by him. She starts shouting that she endured time and time again and kept working towards it. She sits on the ground and starts crying. She says that she is taking it out on him. She is very pathetic. Yu tells her that he will help her to use magic. He starts smiling and tells her that he is going to need her help as well though. She tells Yu that it is pointless, no matter how hard she tries. Even beginner magic is hard for her. She asks what can someone without mana like him do about it. Yu tells her to just give him 1 week, and by then, he will show her that he can use magic. Adele tells Yu to stop fooling around and tells him to use beginner's magic first. Yu says then let's make a bet. After some time, Yu and Ju talk outside the school. Yu tells her everything that he told Adele Shalon he would learn magic in a week. Ju is worried, so she grabs her head and asks Yu with what confidence he said that. Yu says that he knows that too. He was a bit hasty, but he had no choice back then. If he hadn't done that, he would have been looked down upon. Ju thinks that it wasn't the wrong way to draw her attention, though her interest is in magic. Even so, to think he told her that he would learn magic in a week, Yu starts laughing and asks Ju if isn't a prophecy about him learning magic in a week. Ju tells Yu that magic-related abilities aren't sold in the shops of gods and a long time is required to get mana and be able to use it. Even in her past life, it took her 3 months to use magic of course. It is a different story of they did the hidden part-time jobs. In 2 months, the forgotten magical god Kalos will appear. And when he comes to destroy the magic city, the god of magic Vermouth will urgently put up a part-time job asking for help. One of the rewards for that would be magic ability. Ju tells Yu that there is no way but to acquire magic ability. Yu asks how he can acquire it. Ju thinks that if she tells him too much, it might affect and distract his growth, so she will slowly fill him in. She tells Yu that they will have to wait for 2 months until the gate is going to explode, and then he will do the part-time job, so tell Adele Shalon to wait for 2 months. That is the best solution. Yu starts smiling and says that there is no need for that because it will work immediately. Ju asks how he reached that conclusion. Yu says they don't worry, he has it all thought out. Yu says, according to her, Vermouth will post a part-time job if he thinks that the city is in danger, so they will act as monsters from the gate, and that will make him post the part-time job. Ju is shocked to hear that. She thinks that the magic world was complicated and picky until Yu's revival. It was done in the same way every time. She starts smiling and says that Yu could be different. Ju tells Yu that she thinks that plan will be difficult. If he is not careful, then he will die. Yu starts smiling and says that it is no problem. He tells Ju that it will be her who will be acting as the soldier, not him. She is the strongest of them all. Yu is pointing his finger at Ju. She grabs his finger and twists it. After some time at Vermouth Temple, there are many magicians guarding the palace. Yu says that there are more than he thought. Yu tells Ju and White that he will hide where they should go and cause a scene. White starts shouting at Ju that he said he was fighting God. Yu tells him to be quiet and he never says anything about the fight. He tells him to just act as bait. He replies that it is the same thing, and Yu is just asking him to die. Yu looks at White with a dangerous smile and asks if he is going to go out there and die or die by his hands. White tells Yu that he is going. White brings out his sword and starts walking towards the temple. A magician asks White if he wants to die. White thinks that Yu is so bossy and asks if this is a slave and not a priest. A magician points his staff towards White and tells him to stop. If he takes another step, they will attack. White clenches his teeth and says that those two are looking down on him. The magician attacks using a firestorm. White thinks that he will show Ju and Yu as he cuts the magic fire and says that he is the great white cloud. Once he masters martial arts, he will make sure Ju and Yu bow before him. He starts charging towards the magicians all alone. The system notifies Yu that his priest has acquired Fire Slasher. He is starting to understand fire reduction. Yu thinks that he must have had a lot of anger built up, and to think that he created a new skill, he is definitely a genius. Yu says that he should add the finishing touches now. The howling skill gets activated and sun wolves are summoned there. Yu tells the wolves not to kill them, but just to play with them a little. A magician shouts that monsters are infiltrating the temple. The magicians create a barrier sun wolves can't walk through. A magician starts shouting to call for backup right away. Monsters from the gates have attacked. Ju comes and knocks many magicians on the ground and says that it was quicker than she thought. White says that he was worried because Yu said there was this strong god. White asks if the guards are too weak. Yu says that if they had done this much, then he should have appeared. Yu is doing on the ground and asks when Vermouth will get here. A person appears from behind and asks Yu what he is doing here. Yu thinks that he just had to come from this way. Yu asks who he is, and the boy replies he asked that CC question first. Yu tells himself to calm down. If he wanted to kill him, then he would have already been dead. Yu thinks that he possibly hasn't grabbed the situation yet. Yu tells him that there were some people attacking the temple. He was seeing what kind of crazy people would do that. Yu says that something like this was happening, so as they are both gods, it was only natural for Yu to become worried as well. He grabs Yu by the face and says that he is underestimating him. Yes, the temple was attacked during the day, but did you think that they were on the same level? Yu starts smiling and says of course not, that's not what he meant. He tells Yu to get up because there's dirt on his clothes. He apologizes for his language and for how disrespectful it is and says that he was a bit rude. Yu tells him that it is fine. His name is Vermouth. He says that he was just checking if Yu was telling the truth, and he didn't sense any hostility. He tells Yu that he is a god who doesn't have connections with him anyway. Yu is nervous, and Cici says there is no way he would attack the temple in broad daylight. Ju sees that Vermouth and Yu are talking to each other. Vermouth looks at them and says so, those are the monsters that appeared from their gate. White asks what is wrong with that bull head. He looks a bit dangerous. Ju tells White that they are jumping and getting ready. She grabs him by the collar and jumps towards the sky at the store of light. Vermouth sees that they have left, and he says it will be difficult to follow them at that speed. Yu thinks that he doesn't seem like he would chase after them anyway. Yu thinks that he shouldn't get his guard down. The moment Vermouth chases after, then he is going to press it. There were a few reasons Ju agreed to this plan. One of them was because of Vermouth's personality. He doesn't like fighting and is only interested in magic and studying spirits. Vermouth asks Yu where he is from. Yu replies that he is from South Korea. Vermouth grabs his chin and says that he has never heard of that dimension. He tells Yu that there was another god that said he came from America, and he doesn't know if that's the same dimension. Yu is surprised to hear that there's someone from America who acquired the same system window like Ju and him. Vermouth tells Yu that he has a favor to ask him. Yu excitedly says if it is about suppressing the gate, then he will definitely help him. Vermouth starts smiling and says he is very reliable, but that is not his favor. They say the evil beings in the gate, even the smallest of the insects in there, each have their own perspective stories, and the temple can be rebuilt again if you seize them again. Then he should just punish them a little and send them back because they are actually living quite a sorrowful life. A butterfly is sitting on Vermouth's finger. Yu thinks he can see why he loses even with that much magic power. Based on Ju's prophecy, it seemed like Kalos knew Vermouth's personality well, so he ambushed him and inflicted a critical injury. If he isn't stopped quickly, then this dimension will be swallowed by the gate. Vermouth tells Yu that is why this is his favor. Blend in with the citizens and teach them magic. As he makes the butterfly fly away, he says monsters swarming out from the gates may seem natural to him, like a butterfly flapping its wings, but to humans it is like a devastating storm. If the monsters from the gate harbor beginners strong like the monsters from before, they will never be able to handle it. He would have gone himself, but he has to fix the temple. Vermouth looks disappointed and says that he would send his priests, but they are all defeated by the monsters from the gate. Vermouth asks Yu if he can help him instead. Of course, he will reward him since he has to teach magic, and he will help him in using his magical powers easily. Yu is excited to hear that and says of course, this is his profession. Vermouth says that he will leave it to Yu. He will inform his priests so Yu can work on it comfortably. At the Magic Academy backyard, students are training there. A student says they haven't seen Yu lately. The other one says that it is obvious. He realized he had no talent and left early. The student starts laughing and says it was fun seeing his depressed expressions when he was able to use magic. The teacher shouts at the students to be quiet and concentrate on the class. Adele Shallon looks at them and thinks that she had to leave the set for this. At the same time, Yu arrives there and says there isn't a place that isn't like a maze here. He asks if the class has begun already. The other students start laughing after seeing Yu there. They say he just had to come at this time. This professor is the most sensitive when it comes to being late. The professor looks angry, but suddenly, he starts smiling and politely says that the high priest is here. Yu says sorry, he was a bit late because of the traffic. The professor says that he is sorry for not coming to pick him up. The students are shocked to see that. The professor tells everyone to pay attention. The great Vermouth's most treasured high priest Yu will personally teach a lesson on magic. Yu tells the students that it has been a while since they last saw each other and asks what is wrong with their expressions. A student asks the professor what he is even talking about and asks how Yu can teach them anything. Everyone knows he has no mana and got into this school through connections, but now someone like him is going to teach them. The professor is angry. HR tells the student and asks how dare he speak like that. Yu tells the professor to please calm down and that he will take care of it. The student points at Yu and says that he will prove that Yu has no right to teach them and requests a magic duel. He says that he will make Yu come to his senses. The duel is about to begin. The student is carrying his staff. Yu says that he will be generous and let him attack first. Do come at me. The student attacks Yu with mighty flames and a fire arrow. Yu puts his hand forward, stops the attack and says now it is his turn. Yu makes a fireball on the tip of his finger, shoots it at the student and tells him to block it. Yu remembers that Vermouth told him using advanced magic from the start is very difficult, no matter how talented one is. That's why he will share some of his power with Yu. Suddenly, a huge amount of fire starts coming out of Yu's finger. The student starts crying and says that he lost. Yu diverts his attack and sends it towards the sky. There is a huge blast in the sky. Yu asks the student if he has come to his senses, and he tells him to relay the message to the ones who have a problem with him. From now on, this untalented is going to teach them all. The professor starts praising Yu and says that he is the high priest for Yu. To think that he is using the 8-circle magic, an ability that has no users in the area, Yu thanks him. Adele is looking at Yu in disbelief and says that he did it. After some time, Yu and Adele are drinking tea while sitting at a table. She stands up in anger, smashes her hand on the table and asks Yu if he is joking. He wants her to pledge to the conditions. Yu tells her to calm down for now. Adele is Yu if he thinks that she is a fool. Yu thinks that this sort of reaction is normal. Yu tells her to calm down and listen to him. He will explain everything to her, and she sits down. Yu asks her if she could tell him which part she didn't like. She replies everything and says it doesn't make sense in the first place. She has to come to him whenever he calls for her and place her absolute devotion to him. This is some sort of slavery contract. She shouts at Yu that he calls himself God, but speaks like a true cultist. Yu says that it is just like a job, and he won't call her for anything useless. They just need her power to stop a disaster that's going to happen in future and for the battle that's going to happen. Yu says that he will help her any way he can to overcome her mana scarcity syndrome and for her to learn magic. Adele asks if he is going to help her with her syndrome. Even with millions worth of gold, it is something that can't be fixed. Yu tells her that there isn't a method yet, but he will try his best to fix it for her. She snaps at Yu and says that he is a total con artist. Yu asks Ju if there's a way to fix mana scarcity syndrome right away, and she says no. Ju thinks that it is amazing how quickly Yu acquired magic and got to this point, but it has always been difficult to persuade Adele Shalom, a superstar in the magic world who has nothing to envy, has a weak point, just one, her mana scarcity syndrome. Ju tells Yu to give Adele some time. There is still some time left until the gate explodes. There is suddenly a loud noise, and everything starts shaking. The gate appears outside, and there is a red blast coming out of it. Everyone looks outside the window and asks what it is. Ju says that it is not possible. There's still a month left. She wonders why Kalos is here already. 46. Numerous monsters are coming out of the gate. Everyone starts running to save their lives. Adele sees the gate and asks what it is. She is scared. Yu asks Ju what she is talking about and what she means it is Kalos. She tells him there is still time left until he appears, and if she is sure that it is Kalos, Ju tells Yu there's no doubt about it. Adele asks them why they aren't running away. Ju thinks that Kalos has never appeared this early before. The same thing happened with Sun Wolves. Something about this life is different, but the big picture is the same. Yu brings out his sword. Ju asks him why he is taking out the sword and tells him not to be stupid right now. Ju tells Yu that Kalos is on a completely different level than the unstable Neptune. If he goes to fight him now, they don't know what will happen. Yu tells her that it is not something that will be solved if they just wait around. Countless lives will be lost. An urgent job notice appears on the screen. Requirements are godly power over 50,000. The job is to stop Kalos and the gate. The requester is Vermouth. Yu says let's go. It is time for their part-time job. There is a beetle going on outside between magicians and monsters. Yu arrives there, cuts the monster in half and says that there is no end to them. Ju is standing on a dead monster. She says that it is a miracle to be able to acquire the value of his name with just this much. Vermouth is a god that never puts out requests, and he is the world's greatest god. Yu says that he understood that when he was teaching the students last time. Ju is carrying Adele as she jumps down and says that since they don't know how the situation will unfold, let's just continue stopping the monsters coming out of the gate. Even if the events have changed, Vermouth will be able to hold his own against Kalos. Once Kalos backs down, that is when they will properly plan. There was a huge collision. Yu says that Kalos and Vermouth should have been far from here. A voice comes from somewhere and tells all the gods blocking the gate to heed his words. The situation is not good, it is shameful, but he shall correct his request. Vermouth tells everyone to give up everything they are defending right now and focus on evacuating the civilians. He will buy the time they need. Yu and White are shocked to hear that. Yu asks Ju if it is, and she says yes, it is a message from Vermouth. Everyone starts leaving. Adele asks where everyone is going, and Yu tells her that Vermouth just ordered them to fall back. She asks, but what about their village and those who haven't escaped yet? Ju says that it is different from the prophecy, so she can't tell her for certain, but this dimension is going to be destroyed by Kalos. Adele is shocked to hear that and says that Ju is lying. It starts raining and Ju says that she is sorry, but Kalos isn't someone they can face. Adele asks Yu if he can't do anything about it. There has to be something. Anything is fine. Yu says that he is sorry. Adele asks why they are giving up so easily. She falls on her knees and says God or not, there are people that are still fighting. She tells Yu that he said he was a god and God helps humans. She starts pleading to Yu to please help her. Yu tells them a system to summon the interface for the Shop of Gods. Ju is about to say something, but Yu tells her not to worry. He doesn't plan on doing it. He didn't think that he would be using Vermith's name value this quickly. Yu purchases Hercules' lion's armor when equipped, which increases defense by 500%. Yu also bought Hercules' club, which has a 100% chance of causing stun onto any life form. The system says that due to equipping both of Hercules' set, both attack and defense power has been increased by 500%, sleeping the equipment for optimal fitting. Ju shouts at Yu that he is an idiot. Yu tells Ju to take care of others. Meanwhile, Vermith is badly injured while fighting Kalos. Kalos tells him not to make him laugh and asks why he doesn't understand that it is him and the people of this world who have lost their way. He asks Vermith why he isn't striving for more. It is only natural as a magic user. He is grinning and has a cross on his chest, and Kalos has long hair and is hovering in the air. He says, "Behold, this is the true magic power." His darkness starts destroying everything. Vermith tells him that his dark energy exists only for destruction. This is not a way magic should be used. This emphasizes that a god should only use his magic for people and attacks Kalos with his blue energy. Kalos starts laughing and says by using this dark energy, he will finish him and attack Vermith. Vermith thinks that he can't endure this attack, and suddenly Yu arrives there and attacks Kalos with a fireball. After seeing Yu there, Vermith asks him why he is here and why he hasn't received his orders. He tells Yu that at his level, there's nothing he can do against Kalos. He doesn't have any more godly power to give you. He tells Yu to leave this place at once. Yu tells him that he didn't come here looking to get paid. After all, the reward for the commission isn't worth more than people's lives. Yu tells him that he has a plan. Kalos starts laughing and asks what this point fire is. He asks Vermith if he is the new student. He says that Vermith must have been quite desperate. He says that both of them can burn together and start making a dark fireball. Vermith is protecting them using a shield. He tells Yu that he can't hold on much longer and asks if he has a plan. Yu tells Vermith that he just needs a chance to hit him once, and with that, they can make him powerless. Vermith looks at the club and says that he can make a moment's chance. However, he doesn't have enough power to protect him from the dark energy. Yu activates the skill Wind Dash and says that he also has a trick. Yu instantly appears behind Kalos and attacks him using the club, but he is surprised to see that he is being protected by dark energy. Yu thinks that with his strength, he can't even lay a finger on him. The dark energy starts circling around Yu. Kalos starts laughing and asks Vermith what to do now. His student has already become a pile of ashes. Vermith is silent and starts chanting a spell. Numerous portals appear from behind, and Kalos is chained. He says that it is restriction magic, and he asks Vermith if he thinks that he can tie him down like this. Vermith says that with this magic, he might have only bought a few seconds, but that's enough time for him. Yu appears from the dark fireball, and he is unharmed because of Neptune's blessing. Kakos is shocked to see that Yu strikes the club on the head of Kalos, and he falls to the ground. Yu arrives on the ground and asks Vermith if he could end things. Vermith says that back then, it was raining as well. The day he met him, Kalos wanted to be like this. He was cursed with a dark fate that no one would have wanted. Kalos looks very weak after receiving the attack and is lying against a tree. Vermith says that he was also gifted with a talent that everyone desired. That's what he thought when he taught Kalos to magic himself. He says that thinking back, it was an arrogant thought. He didn't realize the desire he was building up inside him and helped him gain powers of dark energy. Then Kalos showed his true self, and he couldn't bring himself to kill him, so he banished him, even knowing that one day Kalos would come back and kill him. If only he had led him onto the correct path at an earlier time, things could have been different if he hadn't taught him dark magic. It is one of his greatest regrets, and he will have to live with it forever. It stopped raining, and the sun started clearing the clouds. Vermith said that it was finally time to let it go. Yu says that he got stronger, but this is the first time that it doesn't feel good. The system notifies Yu that he has landed the last hit, absorbing the power of Forgotten God Kalos. The Light Fox is upgraded to level 3, the Moonlight Fox's sealed skills have been unlocked, and the usage of skill Dark Energy can be broadened with increased mastery. Yu sees that he has Kalos's power. He says that he will have to use the power of an evil god when he has to. White comes and starts looking at the dark energy on Yu's hand. He asks Yu what that amazing pitch dark flame is, and to teach him that, Yu starts smiling and says later. White starts rolling on the ground and says, "Not later again." He wants to learn now. Adele picks him up by the collar and tells him to shut up. White asks what she is doing. Adele tells him to stop whining and that he is supposed to be worshipping you. You will teach him when he has time. Yu looks at Adele and says that she has now started to realize that he is a cool and brave god. Adele starts blushing and says that he was brave though anyway. Since Yu showed her proof, she knew he was not a fraud. Yu excitedly asks if she will accept his offer. Adele turns her head and says that it is a ridiculous contract, but if it means becoming a priest to a god like him, then she will give it a shot. However, she plans to stay here a while longer. She finds out this time that she can't use any magic, and she can't be of any help, so she plans on finding something else she can do to be helpful. Vermouth says that maybe he can help with that. She is shocked to see Sir Vermouth, and she bows down and says that it is an honor to meet him. Vermouth starts smiling and says that he has to return the favor and kindness of the god she believes in, so he is glad that he can help him out this way. Yu says that Vermouth scared him, and he tells Ju and White to hide behind him. Ju says that there is no need, it was just for a moment, so he probably forgot already. Yu says that it is better to be safe than sorry. Ju tells Yu that things turn out well in the end, and they don't have a way to cure mana scarcity syndrome, so it will be more helpful if she stays here. Yu says they should leave before getting caught. The system says that it is spending 2300 of Yu's godly power to move dimensions. Yu opens his eyes and sees that the entire city is destroyed. He asks what the meaning of this is. There are monsters flying everywhere and the buildings are destroyed. Sun wolves are fighting the monsters. Yu asks just what is going on and wonders if a dungeon has broken out nearby. He asks where the hunters and the soldiers are. A monster is looking at Yu from behind and is about to bite Yu when Ju punches it down and tells Yu that everything is happening quicker than expected. Yu sits. What is she talking about? They are talking to each other when a helicopter arrives in the air. A person opens the door and asks if they are Yu, Ju, and White Cloud. He tells them that they are from the Gate Management and Maintenance Bureau and that they should follow him. After some time, they arrive at the Gate Management and Maintenance Bureau building. A person is briefing everyone in the meeting room that they all know why they are gathered here today. He says that there were 12 gates that exploded simultaneously in the city. The death toll is at an all-time high. However, most of the hunters were unreachable or were extremely late to respond. Kim Qiao Hunter says that it is a bit upsetting hearing the bureau leader say that the gates exploding simultaneously like that is something that has never happened before and asks what they have been doing all this time. They believed that the gates were not a threat and left them alone until things came to this, and now he's putting the blame on hunters. Chin Gun gets up from the chair and smacks his hand on the table. He tells them both to stop. This is not the place to point fingers at one another. Rather than arguing, they have to come up with countermeasures if something like this happens again, no matter the reason. The hunters who have gathered here should not turn a blind eye to their country facing a disaster. Out of 18 hunters, there were 12 that were late. That is why he proposes this to them all. Gun punches the map and says that all hunters gathered here will combine forces and set out a large-scale attack on the gates. Everyone starts smiling and says that if Iris is taking action, then there's no reason to refuse. Yu thinks that they are not giving an ounce of attention to the bureau leader. Yu gets up and says if they are only going to discuss killing monsters while sitting here, then he will be moving on his own. Gun asks Yu if he knows the reason for that, and Yu tells him that he is the only person who can enter the gates. Yu thinks that this is a temporary setback. If the attack he experienced in the magic world occurred here, no one in this room could stop it. The only correct answer to this is stopping the war between gods. Kim Cheol clenches his teeth in anger and tells the guild leader to just ignore the likes of him. It seems he is acting high and mighty because he is a 6-star hunter when he is just a kid who thinks that he is special and doesn't know better. A person came running into the room and said that there was a problem at Incheon Airport. A gate exploded and wiped out the entire area. Yu was shocked to hear that, and so was everyone else. There is total chaos at the airport. Airplanes are destroyed, and the person tells everyone that they can't determine the damages incurred. Yu is worried and thinks that that much damage can only be caused by a forgotten god. Yu thinks that in the magic world, there was a mighty god supporting them, so they were able to handle it. But there's nothing they can do with this force. Ju grabs Yu's shoulder and tells him to calm down. There's nothing to worry about. It is not a forgotten god at Incheon. Yu asks the bureau leader if a 6-star hunter can request a plane, and he replies yes. Yu says then let's go deal with that gate. Yu arrives there after some time, and he has summoned Cerberus. He is fighting the monsters. Yu thinks that he used quite a bit of his godly power to summon Cerberus, but he has to finish things quickly here and get back to training. He wonders what is going on with Adele Shalon. Suddenly, the system activates the intuition skill, and Yu thinks that someone is looking at him. Someone attacks Yu, but Ju stops the attack. Someone is there, and his eyes are covered. He tells Ju not to get in his way, and she asks what is the meaning of this Baron. Baron asks if they think that nothing would happen even if they stole the mythical creature of the netherworld. He warns Ju to stand side. There won't be a second chance, and if she gets in his way, then she will die as well. Ju quickly moves behind him in an instant, puts her dagger in his throat, and asks if he thinks that he can kill her. She tells Baron to leave. This is his last chance. Baron tells her that she has made a foolish choice to think she would protect that trash who summons the mystical creature of Netherworld whenever he feels like it. He tells Yu to enjoy his freedom for now. His true evil self will soon be unveiled by Hades himself. Yu is shocked to hear that Baron disappears into a black mist and says that he is looking forward to what punishment he will receive from the Netherworld. After some time, Yu arrives back at his place and says that is enough for today. White is so tired that he is lying on the ground. Yu says that his actions are slow these days. White asks if he knows how long they have been training. It had been 17 hours, and he had been doing the training since 5 in the morning. Yu put his hand on his head and asked if it had been that long. Yu tells White that he has something to do, so he will be going first. He tells White to tidy things up before he leaves. He is angry and asks where he is going after leaving all this mess to him. Yu replies by destroying a gate and tells him not to even think about following him. It is painful that people connect him to Iris after seeing him with White. Yu leaves, and White wonders what happened at the airport that Yu is pushing this hard. If he asks, Yu just avoids the subject. He says that Yu doesn't even treat him like a priest. He is going to go home and game. He thinks that Yu will yell at him later, so he starts cleaning the place and says it is not like he is afraid of Yu. This is just part of his training. Young arrives from behind and asks White what he's doing. White looks at him and says so it's him. Young says that he hasn't seen him at all and asks why he is cleaning the training room. He says that he shouldn't ever be doing this. His father treasures him so much. White starts smiling and says that he thought it was something serious and asks who cares about all the little details. He tells Young not to tell him what to do anymore, as he will be staying on this side for a while. Young is shocked to hear that and says that he told him to humiliate Yu, not to follow that idiot like this. White says that he is going to be here with brother Yu. Young is furious and asks why is he making that idiot his brother. He grabs White by his arm and tells him to cut the crap and follow him. Father ordered that White would be part of the gate destruction plan. White says that he told him that he doesn't want to. Young says that he told him not to talk back and just follow him. Him just being here is an act of disobeying orders. White gets angry and tells Young to let go. There's news on the TV. It says that Yu destroyed another gate and he has another skill of black flame. White tells Young to look at that. He has a lot of things he could learn from that older brother. He asks Young why he would follow him, and he tells Young that he is going, so don't follow him. Young is disappointed and thinks that Yu is always one step ahead of him. He wishes that Yu didn't exist. Meanwhile, Yu's ear is itchy. He says that someone is talking about him. Ju tells him that he is so carefree and asks if he even has any thoughts in his head. Yu says his ear is itchy though. Ju sits on the bench and says that they don't know when Hades is going to appear, but is it okay for him to destroy gates so leisurely like this? Yu tells her that becoming famous will raise his godly power, and he is also protecting more people. Yu asks if there is a reason he shouldn't be doing something good. He says that his godly power is already 90,000. Ju tells him that if he wants to raise his godly power, then he should do part-time jobs. It will also be a better option to avoid Hades' sight, because this will only make Hades more angry. Ju is drinking her juice and says that they should travel to another dimension and get stronger. Yu asks if she is going to be running away forever, and if she does, then Ragnarok might catch up first. Ju asks then what is Yu's plan, and he replies screw a plan. If Hades wants to see him, then he will go see him. Ju spits out the juice and asks if he is crazy. If he meets Hades, then he will die. Yu starts laughing and says that it made her almost choke on her coffee. Ju tells Yu to stop joking around and tell her so that she understands. She tells Yu that he is making her flustered right now. Yu tells her that they just need to find a location where Hades won't be able to kill him when they meet. Ju asks, and where is that place? Yu tells her that at the banquet of God. Yu sees a part-time job offer on the screen. The employer is Zeus, the godly power required is over 90,000. First-timers are welcomed. The description is hall serving and kitchen aid. Time is not yet announced. Payment is 100 Zeus. A word from the employer is party time. After a while, at Mount Olympus, the Temple of Olympus, a man with half the body of a horse says that they have less than 3 hours left until the banquet. Take the fruits and vegetables that Demeter sent and put all the effort in preparing them. Once they are done, do the other ones as well. White and Adele are standing in front of the fruits and vegetables. Yu comes from behind and wishes them both good luck. White starts shouting at Yu and tells him that he said it was important and called him here when he was playing games, but this doesn't seem important to him at all. Adele Shalon says that she was shooting a movie, and Yu says that they are such frustrating priests and that this is all a plan and part of stopping Ragnarok and saving the world. The horseman says that the banquet is starting and hall servers should come out. Yu raises his hand and says that he volunteered. White says that he knew this would happen, while Adele asks why she agreed to become his priest. Yu starts smiling and says thank you, priests. He thinks that if it goes smoothly and according to plan during the banquet, then everything will be solved.